All right, so we had an old swarm trap set up right here just outside the shop, and we had a swarm move in. I've kind of neglected them for a few weeks. Probably going to regret that here in a second, but basically what we're going to do today, move them into a deep box so that when evening gets here, I can move the whole thing to the bee yard, and hopefully won't be as big of a deal as trying to move them to the bee yard, get them out of the nuke box, put them into the bee. I'm just going to take care of it here and then move them later on. So here we go. This reflective material works great as far as for putting something on there to kind of give you a barrier between your lid, especially if your lid's getting old and warped. The bees don't really chew through it. So it's a great material to keep the bees from chewing through. I've tried foam insulation, but the bees will actually just eat the insulation and toss it out the front door, and eventually they're still coming out the top. I've been much happier with the Reflectix material. I'm hoping that maybe they haven't drawn too much comb off the bottom of these frames. I'm hoping I got to them early enough, but we will see.
Look at that pretty wax.
There's a little bit on that frame, but not too bad. We'll just take that and pinch it off there. So we'd much rather our bees be drawing comb on frames if we could help it. That was the outside frame though, so my worry is as we move through into some of these other frames, they may have a lot more wax off the bottom of these, but maybe not.
So they're building wax off the bottom because of the space that's in there?
Yeah, we always leave a space. Yeah. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to take this off and then rubber band it in at some point so that we don't lose all this. But at the same time, I don't need it on my frames at the bottom because it won't fit to the box. So in our swarm traps, what we like to do is we like to have at least 6 frames, or 5 frames, and then we leave 6 inches of space at the bottom.
It's pretty comb.
Well, they're doing a good job. But I imagine what that probably means is we're going to have a lot of comb on all these frames at the bottom, unfortunately. But it took me too long to get in here and mess with them. There's a nice piece.
Wow.
Goodness.
You need a hand?
No, I'm just trying to figure out how to best go about this. I had a suspicion we were going to need this. My problem is finding my rubber bands to hold them in there. Pretty good. All right, so made an emergency run to the DG down the road. We'll see if I can make this work. It's not my normal brand of rubber band, but I'm hopeful that this will be good enough. But essentially what you're going to want to do when you get something like this going is you are going to want to rubber band the comb into the frame, and eventually what will happen is the bees will attach this to your frame. You just have to have it on here long enough to support them until they can get it done. Let's go ahead.
You know, in the middle.
Yeah, we're going to. I just want to try to see if I can't get it up a little bit.
Yeah, looks good.
And like I said, they don't love it. But you know, if somebody came into my home and just doing all this, I don't know I'd love it either. basically, we wired it in, we straightened it out. They'll eventually kind of fill the rest of this in and kind of draw around it, and it'll eventually look like a pretty good little frame. And we're just going to drop it right in here with the rest of them. That gives them room to work on more comb. And on to the next frame. I'm sure we're going to have some of the same trouble. So let's get, we're going to get this here. Give us a table to work with for whenever all these combs start coming off. Oopsie. Didn't mean for it to go down like that. Here we are. Hopefully we don't mess around and mess our queen up doing all this, but we'll do the best we can. Alright, let's see. Let's see here. So you want to keep it orientated the same direction it came out. So we're going to make sure that's the bottom. So we're going to make sure we keep it on the bottom. Let's see if I can find the piece that hopefully matches that one. Well, if that's the same one or not, but let's put this right here. Somewhere there's a piece that fits that. That one we'll just sit on the side. That doesn't look like it's got a lot of brood or nothing in it, so I'm going to set that to the side. That stuff will just melt down. We're just trying to save the brood if we can. Let's see here. Can I find a way? Oh, no. Let's see here. That's just a bit of a piece. All right, let's see if we can just wax or rubber band these two pieces in a little better, and then we've got another frame here we can work with. Get a little cross pattern going. frames are something that we don't want to keep them, eventually we can just cut the wax out and put foundation in or whatever we'd like to do. We've got options.
A lot of bees.
Yep, this is a big hive. Mainly just trying to make sure that the queen was on here. We are shaking her into the box at least. Alright, let's see how this goes. That'll give us another good set of terrain.
Do you just kind of have to hope you have the queen in there? Or?
Well, what we'll do before we're done is we're going to start putting all the bees into that box.
Okay.
So the hope is that if we didn't mash her, and I mean that's a chance when you have to do when you're doing all this, it could happen. But if we didn't, then the hope is that we managed to get her into the box when we shake everything. And as we get to the end of all of it, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. Right now, I'm just trying to get the comb out because I can't start shaking until we've got that part taken care of. Make sure we get 10 frames in this box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, that gives us 10 frames in the new box. This hive's big enough though, I believe we're gonna have to put this box. So let's start working on that. Alright, now let's see here. There's another good sized piece. Should go about like something similar to that right there. I believe there's a piece right here still. Yeah, that's down orientation. Alright, so we have got several pieces of comb here. So we got some that we're going to melt down that this doesn't have much in it. You'd rather they not spend resources on stuff you're going to melt down, but sometimes when you set these swarm traps out, you're going to have things happen like this where they get away from you. So this is a good video on how to go about fixing some of it.
Saving what you can.
Mm-hmm. And this should keep them from swarming on us because they're getting big enough that they could swarm a second time if we didn't start putting them in a bigger box. They're healthy bees. So what we'll do is we'll pop this into here.
Will that help them draw up into that one too? Putting their comb?
Yeah, that's the hope. We're gonna have to, let me see. I think I've got a few more frames in the shop. I'll go grab those. We may have to hunt some frames. I already don't have enough frames, but we'll see what I got. I need two all together. Ordered some more frames, but we're doing pretty good. I've got just enough that we should be able to get everybody, or get enough frames back into this box. We'll have to definitely come move this hive pretty soon. Again, the good news is, since I'm already moving them into their permanent home, all we'll have to do is come up here one evening, move them at night, move them to the hive stand, and then we won't have to fool with them again, because at that point they'll be in their permanent spot. It's worked.
Yep.
I'm trying to see if I can't bend it back mostly straight. That looks pretty close. There we go. Actually do is I'll take some of these out. All right, now.
Woo.
I mistimed my dump. Let's give everybody a chance to calm down. Hopefully. They're used to flying to this spot. So my hope is that they're all going to go back to that area, because this is what they've accustomed as being their home. And if you look at them, you can kind of see they're all starting to settle in and fly that direction. Now we got a few more bees in that box. We'll probably try to shake off here in a little bit. So I'm gonna let everybody calm down for a second. And more or less, that's how you deal with the swarm that has gotten too big for you. You're just gonna have to rubber band your extra comb in. Like I said, there's too much resource they put into those, into that brood for me to want to get rid of it entirely. You can't save every piece. So I typically look for pieces that are more or less empty or got pollen or something in it. You don't really want them to lose anything, but better than having a big old mess. So they should kind of fill the gaps in, I think, pretty well. We'll check on them here after we move them, see how everything's coming along. So if they're drawing anything, especially on those pieces that we just rubber banded in that we don't like, as soon as the bees start to emerge out, later on down the road, we can actually come in there, remove those frames, cut the comb down, melt it down, and put new foundations in. So nothing will go to waste in the long run, but I think that's got us a pretty good start. So if you have any questions, anything goes on, anything you want to know about, just give us a holler. Otherwise, I think we're going to move around and get some other things done today. Thanks for tuning in.